Koppel, host of the Time for Coffee podcast, where you get firsthand career advice into the jobs and industries that interest you the most. And before we start today's show, I have a quick favor to ask you. If you haven't already, I'd be incredibly grateful if you give us a rating and a review on iTunes. And if you're like me, you need to do it now because you'll forget later and because it's the best way to help others who may be in search of career advice to find this free resource. So press pause if you haven't done it and do it right now. I'll wait. Thanks so much and enjoy today's show. Hey there, Java Junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Sascha Mornell. So, Sascha, before we flash back to the beginning, at least to your time as an undergrad at Berkeley, I was thinking it would be fun for us to talk about your 4th child, because you're not only the father of 3 boys, one of whom is going to be heading off to college next fall, but you are also the father, the co-founder of GetMyBoat, which is almost 10 years old. We are actually doing this interview at the end of October 2022. And I am using that description deliberately. You can push back, because I've heard other startup founders say that going from birthing an idea that came out of nowhere from someone's imagination and then nurturing that idea into infancy, then into childhood, and eventually getting it out of the nest, or in the startup lingo, getting an exit, selling your baby, is kind of similar to being a parent. What do you think?
I think that I tread very lightly when we talk about birthing as a male, and I want to be very careful about that. But yes, startups are like children. And that journey, and would be my 6th child, believe it or not, because I've had 2 other startups that went from infancy to an exit, as you pointed out, and GetMyBoat is the most current one. But yes, it is very wonderful, satisfying, discouraging, difficult, tiring, exhilarating journey, and your startups are like your children.
So, can you share with our listeners how this exhilarating journey with GetMyBoat came to be? Where did this idea come from? And how did you turn that idea into a living, breathing business?
Sure. So my business partner and I, who I've been the other co-founder of GetMyBoat, Raf Collado, he and I have been together actually since my first startup experience back at register.com about 22 years ago. And he and I partnered together on Facile, which we'll get into. And it had grown to be a very mature company. And he and I are serial entrepreneurs and builders. And as Facile was getting to maturity in 2012, 2013, both he and I were looking around at additional opportunities. We wanted to build something new. We like to be in the arena and like to create things from nothing. And this was really the period in which Airbnb and Uber, the asset light model, if you were, where people had goods, but they weren't using them very much, a second home, etc. This was that I have to take you back. This was that environment. And so as he and I were thinking about other areas where we wanted to to make something or expand, and particularly in technology, because that was our expertise, we looked at underutilized assets. And one of those happens to be boats. A boat is only used on average about 8% of the year. We had seen what was going on with the Airbnbs of the world, with Turo, which is a car sharing program, obviously Uber and Lyft, et cetera. And we thought, boy, this market is so inefficient. These really expensive assets are just sitting in the water, and we'd like to make the joke sunk costs. And isn't there a way that we could enable a platform or marketplace to allow people to make money off these assets, but also share their passion, because boating is a very emotionally driven pursuit. And that really was how this was born.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to this latest episode of T4C. And if you're interested in learning more about my coaching services for confused college students and recent grads, feel free to check out the Time for Coffee website under the coaching tab at time4coffee.org or text me at 202-236-5712. That's 202-236-5712.